Power does not belong to the fastest mover, nor to the loudest voice. It belongs to the strategist who bends time itself, who waits, who strikes, who flows. The weak confuse activity with progress, pathetic creatures running in circles, mistaking sweat and noise for power. The strong know the truth. Timing is the supreme weapon, a blade in the dark, a tide that drowns empires, a silence that kills. Machiavelli understood this. He studied rulers who rose and rulers who fell. The difference was always the same. Those who mastered time bent fortune to their will, while those who ignored it were crushed by it. So the question is not, do you have power? The real question is, do you know when to use it? What follows are the 7 laws of timing mastery. Because victory is not just about strength. It is about knowing when to move and when to stay still. Have you ever leapt too early into a deal, a relationship, an idea, only to watch it rot in your hands? Machiavelli would sneer, "You didn't fail because you lacked ability. You failed because you lacked timing." The impatient are their own executioners. They lunge before the fruit is ripe. They pluck bitterness, poison, and ruin, destroying not only their prize, but the very tree that could have fed them. Look around you. The world is full of these fools. They launch products before the market is ready. They beg for promotions before their worth is undeniable. They vomit confessions before trust has been earned. And the result, not progress, not victory, only rejection, only humiliation, only the stench of wasted effort. Impatience masquerades as ambition, but it is cowardice in disguise. It is weakness rushing to reveal itself. History does not reward such desperation. Moses, Cyrus, Romulus. They did not pounce at random. They stalked opportunity. They starved themselves of premature action until the moment was fat with inevitability, and then they devoured it whole. Machiavelli said it plainly, if the times are right and you have the ability, you will succeed. So discipline yourself. 1. Ask not, can I act? But, is the field ready? 2. Measure resistance. Stone must be endured, but rotting wood must be smashed. Third strike only when resistance is weakest and gain is absolute. The amateur thrashes across the chessboard, moving for the sake of movement. The master waits, unmoving, patient, then ends the game with a single perfect strike. He who waits rules. He who rushes ruins himself. And remember this, patience is not passive. It is the quiet starvation of rivals, the slow exhaustion of enemies, the art of watching them burn out in their own haste, until you step forward and take everything they no longer have the strength to defend. This is the first law of timing mastery.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Wars are lost before the first battle, not from weakness of arms, but from weakness of silence. The predictable man is already defeated. The loud man is already disarmed. The fool who reveals his intent digs his own grave before the fight even begins. You've seen it. Perhaps you've done it. Bragging about goals before they are secured. Revealing your cards in negotiations before the deal is sealed. Announcing moves so loudly that rivals fortify their defenses, build their traps, and wait for you. And when you finally strike, your blow lands dull, pathetic, impotent. Machiavelli understood the fatal price of predictability. He wrote of Oliverotto of Fermo, a man who seemed harmless, just a loyal nephew inviting allies to a banquet. Wine flowed, laughter echoed, comfort dulled the senses, and then slaughter, blood on the tables, corpses in the hall. By dawn, he was master of the city. That is power, not brute strength, not numbers, but the dagger no one sees until it is buried in their throat. Surprise magnifies force. A whisper at the right moment topples thrones. A small blow delivered unseen destroys giants. In business, silence builds empires. The quiet startup that hides its hand can ambush a giant that never saw it coming. In negotiations, concealment is leverage. The less they know, the more they bleed. The more you hide, the more they stumble. In life, underestimation is your camouflage and your weapon. The rival who thinks you are weak arms you with their arrogance. So etch this into your mind. The hand they cannot see is the hand that takes the crown. Machiavelli would command you to obey 3 laws of shadow. 1. Conceal your intent in routine. Hide in plain sight. Let them see nothing but patterns, habits, harmless gestures. 2. Lull with comfort. Give them the banquet. Give them the smile. Give them the illusion of safety. Nothing lowers a guard faster than false security. 3rd strike when vigilance is dead. Not when they brace, not when they prepare, but when they exhale, when they relax, when their mind drifts. Then, and only then, deliver the killing stroke. Think of chess. Announce your plan, and your opponent broses for it. Conceal it, and one sudden, ruthless move ends the game. The fool craves recognition and telegraphs his attack. The strategist cloaks his blade in silence, then takes everything before his victim even knows the war began. This is the 2nd law of timing mastery. Strike from the shadows. The fool fights the river. The prince rides it. Every empire, every market, every life, all move in cycles, growth and collapse, calm and chaos, rise and ruin. But fools cannot grasp this. They rage against what cannot be stopped. They expand when decline is inevitable. They retreat when fortune is handing them abundance. They bleed themselves dry, smashing against forces far greater than themselves. Pathetic, like children screaming at the tide to turn back. Machiavelli saw fortune for what it is, a raging river. When it floods, it sweeps away kingdoms, tearing down walls, drowning armies, erasing dynasties. You cannot stop the flood, but you can shape it. You can channel its current. You can ride its fury and turn its destruction into your ascent. The wise ruler does not resist the storm. He uses it. He builds dams, directs currents, bends chaos itself into opportunity. The fool thrashes in defiance and drowns. So master the rhythm. 1. Know the phase, growth, decline, chaos, or calm. See the truth. Strip away illusion. Only the blind man mistakes winter for spring. 2. Expand in abundance. Consolidate in scarcity. Fortune is not constant. Hoard in famine. Devour in feast. 3. In peace, prepare. Sharpen weapons. Fortify walls. Stock resources. So when chaos returns, as it always does, you are not scrambling to survive. You are poised to conquer. The amateur fights the wave, flailing, swallowing water, gasping for air. The master waits, times his strike, rides it all the way to shore, and plants his flag on the beach others drowned beneath. This is the essence. Dominate the cycles, and you dominate the men who are enslaved by them. For every rival blinded by panic in chaos, you will stand calm. For every rival drunk on abundance, you will be calculating. And when the tide turns, as it always does, you will not merely survive, you will rise while they choke on the waters. This is the 3rd law of timing mastery. Ride the tide of fortune. Most men are slaves to noise. They babble, they explain, they confess. Pathetic creatures begging to fill the void because silence terrifies them. Machiavelli smirked at such weakness. Silence belongs to the strong. Understand this. Silence is not absence. It is weight, pressure, a chokehold. It destabilizes the impatient. It drives the nervous into mistakes. It forces fools to reveal themselves while you sit in stillness, watching their desperation tighten around their own throat. Pope Julius II knew this. He delayed decisions. He let rivals overextend, overcommit, expose themselves. They mistook his silence for weakness, for hesitation. But when their traps snapped shut, it was not around him, it was around themselves. His pause was sharper than the sword. So wield silence with precision. 1. Do not answer immediately. Let the silence hang heavy. Let them sweat. Let their own words betray them. 2. Study the void. In their panic, watch their hands tremble, hear their nervous concessions, see the truths they vomit, just to ease the unbearable tension. 3. Speak last, and speak like iron. After silence, a single phrase becomes a verdict, a decree, a strike heavier than 1,000 explanations. The impatient man loses because he cannot endure the void. He cannot resist filling it with weakness, with fear, with truth better left hidden. The strong man wins because he lets silence gnaw at the minds of others until they destroy themselves. Silence is not emptiness. It is power compressed into stillness. It is the pause that forces enemies to stumble. It is the void that makes rivals choke. It is the unseen blade that slices deeper than any shout, any threat, any roar. This is the 4th law of timing mastery. Turn silence into a blade. The reckless blow their strongest strike too soon. They win a skirmish and lose the war. Power without order is suicide. Even the right move fails at the wrong moment. Most people act in disorder. They waste force on petty clashes. They sprint, stall, then panic. They confuse motion with momentum and die by their own noise. Understand choreography. Power is not a shout. It's a score. It builds. It gathers. It breaks only when the structure demands the break. Machiavelli gives the lesson in Flesh and Blood. Cesare Borgia, Romagna. First a cruel minister, Ramiro de Orco, imposes order by terror. Hatred peaks. Then at the precise crest, Borgia executes him publicly. Knife, block, spectacle. In a single stroke, fear converts to gratitude, blame shifts, loyalty crystallizes. Not chaos, choreography, cruelty into loyalty, horror into power. Now translate this into the modern arena. Business. You don't open with the hardest demand. You seed, signal, surge. Quiet pilots, proof of demand, selective leaks, decisive launch. Each phase softens resistance and sets the price you'll later dictate. Negotiation. Anchor lightly. Probe their limits. Let small concessions bait disclosure. Only when their alternatives are dead do you table your real terms, already inevitable. Politics and influence. Release your agenda in layers. Normalize first, reframe second, institutionalize third. By the time you reveal the whole design, it feels like common sense. Learn this doctrine. 1. Probe the ground. Questions, small tests, harmless gestures. What breaks? What bends? Signals to watch. Delayed pushback. Asymmetric interest. Information leaks in your favor. 2. Escalate in steps. Each move should weaken one defense and preposition the next. Strip allies from your target. Close exits. Own the narrative. Tactics. Phased announcements. Controlled scarcity. Staggered deadlines. Staged alliances. 3. Close when escape is impossible. Strike only when resistance is fragmented and alternatives are gone. Hit once. Hit clean. Leave no route back to defiance. Tests. Opposition speaks in whispers, not manifestos. Decision-makers repeat your language. Costs of reversal exceed costs of compliance. Think like a besieger. First starve the city, cut supplies, isolate friends, then break morale, night drums, rumors, demonstrations of reach. Only then breach the wall, not before, not almost. Then victory is not one blow. It is a sequence of blows, each preparing the next, each tightening the circle, each accelerating the collapse. Order turns force into inevitability, and here is the bridge from inner mastery to outer rule, the discipline to wait, to stage, to withhold. That is the lever that moves other people's behavior. When you control your impulses, you control the tempo. When you control the tempo, you control the field. When you control the field, you control them. This is the fifth law of timing mastery. Sequence your conquest. Patience prepares you, but hesitation kills you. Fortune cracks the gate only for an instant. In that instant, only the bold survive. The weak, they falter. They beg for reassurance. They wait for permission. And while they hesitate, the moment dies. The gate slams shut. The prize is gone. Machiavelli knew this truth. He praised Pope Julius II, who did not conquer Bologna with overwhelming strength, but with blinding speed. He struck before allies were secured, before rivals even recognized the danger. By the time they understood what had happened, it was already too late. That is the force of speed. It paralyzes enemies. It overwhelms reason. It creates inevitability. Understand this. Delay is decay. Every second you pause, the enemy fortifies. Every hesitation multiplies resistance, but speed multiplies power. One strike delivered instantly outweighs 10 delivered late. So live by 3 commands. 1. Prepare ruthlessly in calm. Build resources. Sharpen weapons. Align allies. Do not waste peace. Store thunder for the storm. 2. When the window cracks, strike without pause. Before rivals blink, before whispers spread, before the first defense rises, speed itself is the blade. 3. Never ask permission, never wait for consensus. Speed is its own justification. The slow man dies debating. The fast man rules by fait accompli. Think of armies. The slow army fights, bleeds, stalls, dies. The fast army conquers, blitz, shock. Domination before resistance even awakens. And know this, lightning speed is not reckless chaos. It is the release of stored preparation in one devastating flash. The fool confuses speed with haste. The master knows speed is patience detonated at the perfect instant. This is the 6th law of timing mastery. Explode with lightning speed. Everyone knows how to charge. Everyone knows how to strike, but almost no one knows when to stop. And those who don't die like fools. The stubborn cling too long. They stay in failing markets. They chain themselves to collapsing alliances. They rot inside dead relationships. They burn through money, strength, and reputation, refusing to retreat until there is nothing left to save. This is not bravery. This is stupidity. The refusal to retreat is not strength. It is vanity choking itself to death. Machiavelli warned of it. Rulers collapse not because they lacked power, but because they refused to adapt their conduct to the changing times. What once worked becomes fatal if clung to too long. The truth is merciless. Retreat is not surrender. Retreat is survival. Retreat is strategy. The wise exit early. They leave when their reputation is still untarnished, not when pity has replaced respect. They withdraw while resources are intact, while options remain, while enemies are still guessing. And then they rebuild in silence, waiting for the tide to turn again. So master the art of withdrawal. 1. Recognize the turning tide before the crowd does. The masses always cling until collapse. Be first to see decline. Be first to cut away. 2. Exit at your peak, not in your decay. Depart when they still fear you, not when they laugh at your fall. 3. Reset, rebuild, re-enter. Retreat is the coil before the strike, the step back before the leap, the silence before the roar. Think of the battlefield. The fool dies on the wrong hill, bleeding for a lost cause. The strategist abandons that hill, preserves his army, and returns later, not for a hill, but for the whole valley. This is the hidden half of conquest, the power to let go, the wisdom to step back, the cruelty to sacrifice ground today in order to rule tomorrow. And never forget, retreat is not the end. It is the pause before domination resumes. This is the 7th law of timing mastery, retreat to rule again. Now you see the full cycle of timing mastery. Harvest only the ripe, strike from the shadows, ride the tide of fortune, turn silence into a blade, sequence your conquest, explode with speed, retreat to rule again. This is not just strategy, it is survival. This is not just survival, it is dominion. Machiavelli understood. Fortune is never conquered by force alone. Strength without timing is squandered. Boldness without rhythm is recklessness. Power without patience is nothing. He wrote that fortune is a woman, wild, dangerous, untamed. She does not yield to the hesitant. She yields only to the one who knows when to wait, when to strike, and when to vanish, only to return stronger. So I leave you with this question. Are you mastering time, or is time mastering you? Because in the end, it is not the strongest who win. It is not the loudest who rule. It is the one who commands the moment, the one who bends the cycle, the one who makes time itself his weapon. That is the Machiavellian way. That is timing mastery.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.